Hey y'all, I wanted to come on here really quick and just kind of let you know how I'm stitching this full coverage. I have tried so many different methods of stitching on a full coverage. The one that I tend to, okay, let's just back up. So I'm not a very experienced stitcher. I have maybe been cross stitching on a regular basis for the past couple of years. I did stitch when I was younger, like a lot younger. And mostly my kits came from the big box stores. And then when I got back into it, it was just like a whole new world. And I just saw these full coverage pieces and was like, oh my gosh, I could never, ever do that. Well, then I was like, you know what? I'm going to try. So I have started a lot. I have decided I'm not doing a lot and just kind of like picked out or cut off the threads and turned the piece around and started stitching on another side. That's just the way I am. But I did realize that it takes a very, very long time. And there's a couple of things that I've changed since I started. First of all, I realized I was on 18 count. I started on 18 count fabric. I guess it was Aida. And I was doing full cross. Then I decided that but it wasn't gridded. So one of the main things that I realized is that I have to have my fabric gridded in order to do this. So I did that. I started buying the Easy Grid, and it was the first one I got was 18 count, and I was doing full crosses. But I was starting, I can't remember if I started with 3 strands and it was too thick, and I went to 2 strands, and then I was like, okay, that's fine. But in certain colors, I didn't get the coverage, the darker colors. I was still seeing a little bit of the fabric behind it, which is fine. Everyone says it's fine if you do that because when you stand away, you're not gonna see it, but it bothered me. So I switched to 2 strands, and then it just was taking a long time. So I finally decided where I'm really liking it is on 25 count, 2/1 tent stitch. It's faster, and for me, it's faster for me. But I can't do big sections at a time. I can't do cross country with that because that gets confusing. So I was doing it on a diagonal, just like a straight diagonal, but then I had to put the diagonal lines into Pattern Keeper. Oh, and by the way, I could not do this without Pattern Keeper. Like I honestly couldn't do it. So just because I always miss patterns, like I'll be looking and I think that I've got all of them, and then there's one that I missed. And so that's what I love about the Pattern Keeper, is that how it highlights your symbols. Okay, so I switched to 25 counts, used 2/1 tent stitch, and I was doing the straight diagonal, but you have to put those lines in Pattern Keeper, the diagonal lines, to keep up with it. And it's different for each block. For each diagonal, anyway, the count. So then I was watching, I can't remember who it was. It may have been Teresa Little Stitcher, who I've learned so much from. She does wonderful videos on stitching for beginners, on stitching full coverage, and I watched all of them. But she said that she was, and this is what I think she's doing one, let me just try to get in here, one square, 10 by 10 square at a time, full coverage, not full coverage, cross country and then stitching in a diagonal, which to me means like I just finished this block, this square of 10 by 10 square, this one right here. So then I move down to this one. It's on a diagonal. So I'm stitching it in a direction of a diagonal, but I mean like this way, but when I actually am doing the stitching, I'm moving it in a diagonal, but I'm actually stitching it just this way, okay? So far on this pattern, it is working. I mean, for me, it's working for my brain. It's easier for me to keep up with doing that. And I really like it. It's going pretty quickly. Now let me show you this pattern. So this, did I zoom in? I can't remember, did I zoom in? No. Okay, so this pattern is one, hold on, I gotta find what's off? Hold on, I'm getting my tablet. Because I can't remember who I bought this from. I think, okay, this is from Thread Geeks Cross Stitch. Thread Geeks, I'm going to show you the mock-up. If I can pull it up. Okay, so this is Clint Eastwood. I decided to kind of make this a focus because, first of all, it's different because it's just it only has like 30 colors. And my husband loves Clint Eastwood, and this is from one of his favorite movies. Okay, so did you know that like that Clint Eastwood is like 90 something years old? Incredible. Okay, so I first started stitching this, and I was doing this all over here. Okay, so it was all just solid colors, maybe a few different colors, but they were all very, very similar. And I was like, oh my gosh, this is so like, I can't even hardly tell the difference between these colors. I don't know if it's gonna make a difference, but we'll see. So yes, you can see the lines underneath, like the grid lines underneath, because you can on light fabrics, I've been told, because I was concerned about that, but supposedly they'll wash out afterwards. I hope, whatever, I mean, I guess we'll find out. So one of the things that I realize is, although you may think that the colors are very similar, you can see like that shading that goes all up into here, which kind of goes with the way that this pattern is. So you're not gonna notice it, you know, when you're stitching it. Like when I stitch these things, I'm like, I don't even see what I can't even tell what I'm stitching. But then when I get away back from it, that's good English. When I stand away from it and look, then I can see, like, this is gonna be the top of his hat. And I was gonna show you again, but on my tablet, it keeps turning off. Okay, so that corner right there is like this section right here, the top of his hat. See? Okay, so I've gotten a little bit into the picture now and gotten out of this. What I like about it, okay, so, all right, so then I was like, okay, so I'm gonna stitch each block cross country, and what that means, and let's just start right here. Let me get down here. Okay, so I'll start this block first. What that means is that I'll start with like the first symbol that's probably parked, you know, like say whatever this one is. And then I will just go throughout this whole block, and I can do it with this one. Is that where I'm supposed to start? Yeah. I will go throughout this whole block and just stitch that one symbol, however many times it comes up until it's finished in this one block. Then I'll either move it down to this one, I'll look, and I'll like just kind of stick my needle in this to keep my place, and I'll look on my pattern to see if it's anywhere in here. And then if it's not, I'll look on my pattern to see if it's over here or over here. And then if it's not in somewhere that's pretty close, then I will just end my floss, and then I'll save. If it's short, then I'll throw it away, you know, the rest of it, or if it's long enough, then I'll save it on my floss organizer. So I'll do that with all of the symbols that are in this square, and then I'll move down to this one and do this one. So when you're in a block that has not a lot of part threads, and I'm going to get to what these are in a minute. When you're in a block that has not a lot of part threads, like for this one, like for instance, this block right up here has a ton of part threads. Okay, this one, I'm sorry, and this one has a good many. It's really hard for me to do when there's lots of confetti, because that means there's probably going to be a lot of confetti in those. If there's a lot of them that are already parked in there, then I will not do cross country. I will go one by one. I will take the first symbol and I will go all the way on the first row, the top row, and then I'll park it underneath it if the symbol's underneath there, or the next place that it's parked, and I'll just park it. It's easier for me to do that and keep count. When I'm working on a square that doesn't have very many part threads, and I figure this is probably going to be a more solid piece, and this probably one is because it's getting over here into the background, then I will just stitch it across country out through there. Does that make sense? Okay. So the way that I end my threads when I'm done, like say I finish all of this color or this symbol in this block, and I don't have really enough floss to continue over here or wherever the next, to this block, if like say the symbol's over here too, and I just need to end my floss, then wherever I finished, I move over like 12 squares, like this one. And if I finish the stitch in this block, then I'll skip this one totally, and I'll park, and then well, let me just show you. I'm gonna have to turn it off and piece this back together. Okay, say I have finished this. Like this is, okay, so I'm just pretending like this is my last stitch. Okay. And let's just pretend I just made a stitch and I pulled it down and it's behind the back. Then I'm like, I've got to finish this floss off. So I will move over at least, probably, I usually do about 10 squares. Hold on a second, I'm trying to find where I am. It's hard to do this because I'm using the other hand, the wrong hand. Okay, so I was over in this, y'all see the needle? I was over here, and so this dark line is like the last stitch in that square, and I'll just move over like into this square, into this one somewhere. So I skip a whole block, and then I come up, and then go down. Where is this is very hard to do with one hand. And I'm trying to look through my phone while I'm doing this. And then I'll come down, and then I'll come back up, and then I'll cut it. And then if I have a long enough piece to save that I could use again, you know, I'll cut it off like right here, and I'll take the other, the bits that's left, and I'll put it on my floss organizer. If it's too short, then I'll throw it away. Okay, so I don't turn, so I'm not turning my project over to finish off in the back at all. Okay, I am just finishing it off on the front, which is what all these little pieces are. See? The ones that go straight like this. Okay, so when I, like say for instance, I just finished this and I'm moving up, this is the next one I'm doing. So before I even begin, I take this doohickey. Gosh, is mine zoomed in? I feel like it's really like right there. This is one of those snag nabbits that's pointed on this end, and then it's got these ridges on this end. And I pick out that piece, and then I use this to pull the tail down underneath. And so I pick all the ones that are in this square to do. Let's see, where is the other one? I don't even know where I am. And I'm making this look a lot harder because it's just really difficult to do while filming. And then and sometimes, hold on, you might have to go down twice to get that tail. Two or three times. I can't see. And then let's see. And there's no other. Okay, and I don't think, so now I think that square is rid of all the, whatever these are called. I don't even know what these are called when you finish it off on the front. I don't know. So once I pull all those to the back, then I'm ready to stitch in this square because they're not in my way. And I'll stitch this square, all of it. Depending on if it's confetti heavy or not, I'll do cross country. And if it's confetti heavy, then I'll just do, I think it's called, I think the needle bug, is it Karen from the needle bug? Calls it like the snake method, where you go this way, and then this way, and then this way, and this way. So you're doing like a one line at a time, which takes a lot slower, but for my confusion and my peace of mind. So I'll stitch this all up, and then I'll move down to this one. And before I start, I'll go through and pick these little ended threads out, and then start on here. And this one has a little bit more part threads, but it's probably more block stitching. Okay, so that is what I do. Now, with that being said, because I park or have been parking all of my things on the front, I haven't even seen what the back of this looks like. And so this is one of the main reasons why I wanted to make this video. And like I said, I am a new stitcher. So this method, you might not like this method. I think the deal is, and I've tried so many different ones, is to find the one that works for you. I like doing the cross country within the block because of the counting, and then it goes faster. But I also like doing the snake method within the block because it's less confusing. So you can switch up your methods. You don't have to like stick to one single one. This is the first time that I'm doing the diagonal blocks in a diagonal movement down, I mean, I'm thinking maybe it'll help with no lines. I don't know. We'll find out. But while you're here and on this video, I want to show you, we're gonna look at the back for the very first time. Okay, and I'm pretty confident that it's gonna be really, really messy. Really, I mean, I have not looked at this at all. Okay. So, and I know there is a shadow right there. So that's the back. And yes, you know, there are some areas where I did travel, like not just in a square next to, diagonal from it or next to it or close to it. Like I went over like 4 squares just because I'm like, I don't even care. But normally I try to, and this is where I didn't have to do a whole lot of traveling, and this is where I have done a lot of traveling. So this is where I'm at. I'll be coming down here. I'm gonna try to not do as much traveling though. So there it is. I know it doesn't really look like anything right now, but I mean, I'm enjoying doing it. I think I just pulled that thread out of there. I can't remember where it was. I'm using a needle minder. You could use more than one, and then I found these little things, I don't remember what they're called, bobbies or something like that, just to kind of hold this grouping of floss out of my way while I'm working down these blocks right here. So I've got 1, 2, 3, 4 more blocks, 10 by 10 blocks to go to complete this diagonal, and then I'll move up here and work this way. That's what I'm doing. If you have any suggestions of how to make this easier, I mean, I'm all about learning, and like I said, I've tried so many different things, and if I get sick of this, I'll just change it up. But right now, for my brain, doing it that way it seems to be working for me. So I guess the things I've learned over the past, work for me in the past year or so that I've been doing full coverage, is to always get gridded fabric. I don't want to grid it myself. To buy the gridded fabric, to get 25 count so I can do 10th stitch because it goes faster. And the stitching method, I guess right now this is what I'm doing, but I'm not saying it's what I'll always do. I mean, it'll probably change, but for right now, I'm really, my brain is grasping it, and that's the most important thing. Okay, I hope this helps someone who has never done a full coverage before. I encourage you to go watch Teresa Little Stitcher and the Needlebug, because they are much more experienced in this than I am. But maybe this will give someone who's never tried one some hope that you can do it. You just need to start out slow and don't be in a hurry, and know that it's going to take a long time, but it's just, I think, like, and I keep calling her Karen because that's what I think her name is, from the Needlebug. But just like she says in her videos, it's just an X, like one at a time, an X one at a time, what's going to lead to this picture. There's no fancy stitches, it's just an X, or in my case, a half of an X. But let me know if you have done this way, and if it helps with like keeping lines out of your project. And hopefully next time when I come back, you will see more progress on Clint Eastwood. All right, y'all, thanks for watching. Bye.